Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is a blessed time to interact with you as part of the global Qur'an GALA celebration of Qur'an. This time we chose to talk deeply on the exegesis, tafsir, how we interpret the God revelation. So my topic is here how we have to engage with Quranic tafsirs in foreign languages. As we know, Quran was revealed in Arabic, pure Arabic. There is some discussions regarding it. I later found a text in English, originally written I think in Spanish. The foreign languages in Quran that question the Quranic claim of it has revealed in pure Arabic language. That is another area to discuss. So my approach is here how we have to engage with some foreign exegesis, whether it is English or French or German or Malayalam or Urdu. I want to show here 10 frameworks in engaging with a foreign language exegesis or tafsir. The first one is source orientation, that we can call epistemic base. We have three types of interpretations. One is traditional, that is naql based, traditional. Interpreting Quran with the Quranic verse, or interpreting Quran with the hadith, or interpreting Quran with the classical Arabic tafsir. Tafsir al-Tabari, tafsir ibn Kathir, we have some options. And the second category is rational, that is aql based. One is traditional, that is naql based, and second is rational, that is aql based. And what we find mostly in English exegesis, English tafsirs, are the hybrid mode of this, both combining naql and aql. That is hybrid. Most English tafsirs falls here. It's very important when we approach a tafsir in foreign language. And the second framework is linguistic strategy. Which linguistic strategies the interpreter has adopted? Whether it is literal or interpretive translation or retention of Arabic terms like taqwa, deen. There is a conflict when we translate the Arabic with especially Quranic verses into other languages. Quranic, especially Arabic, has a multi-layered meaning. A word has multi-level meaning, multi-layered meaning. That is the beauty of the Quran and the Arabic itself. But when we come to the other languages, the interpreter struggles to convey the exact meaning. Exact is something inverted comma exact. Regarding to the Quran, it is a God revelation. But the interpreter struggles how he can convey or she can convey the meaning of the God revelation. So it is very important which linguistic strategy, whether it is literal or interpretive or degree of explanatory paraphrasing. That is mostly we can see in English language exegesis. So the second framework is linguistic strategy. The third one is theological orientation. Mostly the English readers often miss theological bias because it is not always declined there. There is Shia and interpretation, Sunni interpretation, revivalist Sunni interpretation. Normally we in Kerala call Sunni Wahhabi and many things, many factions, but global level only Sunni and Shia. So the interpreter will have some ideological background. We may be Ahmadiyya. There is an allegation against Abdullah Ali's translation, that means older versions have some Ahmadiyya influence because he consulted with Muhammad Ali at Lahore during his interpretation of the Quran. But later he corrected it regarding the rising of Jesus Isa alayhi salam, something like that. So whether it is Sunni, theological orientation, maybe Sunni, Ash'ari, Salafi, or Shi'i, or reformalist, or modernist, something like that. So when we approach a foreign exegesis, we have to find out what kind of theological orientation it possesses or it try to convey. The fourth framework is whether it is historical versus contemporary lens. Modern tafsir tries to incorporate, try to manage contemporary issues, gender issues, environmental issues. So classical historical orientation focuses on the asbab nuzul, occasions of revelation. But the early Islamic context, contemporary contextual, applies versus to modern issues, governance, gender, economics, global ethics. So some tafsirs has such a attitude of divining the Quranic verses into the modern scenario or modern lens. So that we have to find out. And the fifth framework is audience design. That is very important. From the beginning of the there is a three to four phases of Quranic interpretation in English language. The first one comes from apologetic, that was done mostly by missionaries. They did it in apologetic lens to defame the Quran, to try to make the audience understand it is something lower than, inferior to biblical literature, something like that. So the audience is very important. Mostly the converts. The Europe was later embraced Islam in the Elizabethan age after they engaged with the Islamic civilizations in Shakespearean age. So the prime purpose of the Quranic translations or the exegesis was to convince the converts, the new ones embraced Islam. So the audience is very important. So whether it can be academic, the audience type may be academic, general Muslim, Western readers, and youth focused on dawah. So audience design is very important when we approach a foreign exegesis. And the sixth framework is methodological approach. Whether it is thematic mawdu'i, that we know, thematic mawdu'i, that discuss only one core or one issue or one subject. Here is a presentation by our scholar Muhsin, is a Japanese scholar. He talked about God and man relationship in Quran. So that is a mawdu'i. So thematic approach is there. Many Quranic exegeses are in English there that only talk about justice, gender. Another thing is tahlili. One is mawdu'i and another is tahlili, that is analytical, verse by verse breakdown. That is one of the classical style. And one of these literary structural style, ring composition, coherence, nalum, that focus on the nalum, how Quran beautifully articulate the concept and what it has to convey to the humankind. That is a kalam from the God Almighty Allah. So the methodological approach is very important. That is the sixth framework. And the seventh one is engagement with modern disciplines. That we know local English tafsirs often integrate with science, controversial domain. That is something controversial domain, al-tafsir al-ilmi, al-tafsir, another type of sociology, politics, comparative religion, philosophy. So engagement in modern disciplines are also very mostly seen in foreign language, especially in English, because they engage with such a community where gender is a polemic issue, a controversial matter. Environment is another matter that is maybe not in such a terms or coin in Arabian countries. So the seventh is engage with the modern disciplines. And the eighth framework is ideological function. Something a repetition of the earlier one. English tafsir is rarely neutral. It is rarely neutral. It often serve reforms, revival, apologetic, spiritual survival. As when we go to the Asad has a great influence of Abd, Muhammad Abdusfan, Egyptian scholar, something Salafi ominous. That is why he neutralized the miracles in the Quran. He tries to neutralize. His policy is that Allah has a structure role in this universe. So miracle is itself in that role, in that nature of the Allah's capability. But when we see from our capacity, it is something extra supernatural. That is his approach. We can go deeply to during our panel discussion how he engaged with the miracles in Quran. So it is influence of manar. That is part of ideological influence. So the eighth framework is ideological lens. Which ideology he has tried to convey through his interpretation. The ninth one is degree of dependence of Arabic tradition. Some tafsirs in foreign language, especially English, highly depend on traditional tafsirs, direct translation or classical tafsir. Something the same, another category is semi-independent, uses classical sources but reinterprets. That depend on classical text like Baylawi, Ibn Kathir and Tafsir al-Kabir, but they try to reinterpret according to their sociological and cultural, psychological aspects. And the third category is independent. There is no dependency on the classical text. So degree of independence is very important when we approach a foreign language tafsir. And the last one is form. Whether it is a pure translation or something tafsir or hybrid. We have pure translations, many, I will come to that phases. Then there is a translations, but there will be some notes. Muhammad Ali did that. And another category is full tafsirs. So these are the 10 frameworks that we can adopt when we engage with some foreign language tafsirs and exegesis. So it's very core when we engage with all this. And when we come to the English history of English tafsirs, we can see many phases there. One is European missionary translations that began in 1649. 1649, the first Quran, Al-Quran of Muhammad, that is attributed to Alexander Ross. He was a missionary. It was a translation from Andrew de Ray's French version, produced in a strongly anti-Islamic. The purpose of that translation was confessional framework. It was anti-Islamic. And the same period, we can see George Sale's The Quran, commonly called the Al-Quran of Muhammad. It was written in 1734. 1734. It was the first scholarly English translation from Arabic, not from any other language. It was from Arabic. But its preliminary discourse framed Islam through the Christian lens. The purpose was some missionaries. So the first phase is apologetic and missionary phase. And the second phase, first Muslim English commentaries. The second phase starts from the beginning of the 20th century, from 1910 to 1950s. The first one, Mirza Abdul Fazil, the Quran. He was an Indian, born in Allahabad. He wrote a Quran translation, first full English translation to the Quran by a Muslim. It was by Mirza Abdul Fazil. And the same period in 1917, Maulana Muhammad Ali, the Holy Quran, Arabic text, English translation and commentary. This is the translation that I earlier mentioned has an influence of Ahmadiyya doctrine and theological factions, because it was published earlier by the movement with the transactional reach in Lahore Ahmadiyya people. So this phase started with the first Muslim engagement, foreign English engagement with the Quran. The third phase was mid-century scholarly and semi-traditional English period. Arthur J. Arbery, the Quran interpreted 1955. The first major English translation by an academic specialist in Arabic and Sufism. Arbery, you know, he has authored many prolific writings on Sufism and Islamic civilization in English. Arbery sought to preserve the rhythm and cadence of the Arabic text. He tried maximum to preserve the rhythm and cadence of the Arabic text. Something minimal commentary, but mostly a scholarly orientation of the Quranic translation. And the same period is mid 19th, in the 20th century, 1950s, Yusuf Ali, Abdullah Yusuf Ali, the Holy Quran text translation commentary, British Indian background. He wrote it in 1934. Widely distributed through Saudi and Western publishers, extensive notes. One of the key features of this Quranic translation, there was an extensive commentary in footnotes available in this text. This was a shift from sectarian apology to a broader civilizational voice. You know, until this time, from the missionary time to this Abdullah Yusuf Ali period, all his engagement with the Quran was something sectarian. A sectarian group, faction tried to interpret the Quran. And the fourth phase, modernist tafsir, as a global project. Asad comes in this category. Muhammad Asad, the messenger of the Quran. It was written in 1980. An Australian Jewish convert, as you know. His translation commentary were traduced in English over many years and later translated into Arabic and other languages. The project described the first edition as the messenger of the Quran, translated and explained. That was the name of that text, the message of the Quran, translated and explained. It incorporates modern features. But he acknowledged his profound debt to Muhammad Abdu and Rashid Rila, that I earlier mentioned, embedding him in a modernist reformist tradition that is pan-Islamic rather than regional specific. So he tried to approach Quran through a scientific and rational hermeneutic. Hermeneutic, you know, as the science of interpretation. Recasting miracles as unusual messages from God within divine law and reading imagery as symbolic. Some imagery, in the case of the birds with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Almighty Allah to make him convinced of the creation, putting four parts of a bird in different peak of mountains and calling to his part. So he interpreted that event, that miracle as something symbolic. It is something psychological process to make our belief stronger. That was his interpretation. It was really the influence of the rational approach to the Quran from Rashid Rila and Muhammad Abdu. So there are some aspects there, but in the welcome introduction, he mentioned that he's mostly Sunni parts, but we have to understand the European scholars. They will have such a tendency to go to such revivalist forms. As they live in such a social and cultural domains in Europe. And the final phase is contemporary global diversifications. This is traditionalist, interfaith, academic. There are many Taqi Usmani, the Noble Quran, meaning with the explanatory notes. Jesus Christ Hawk, the Quran, a chronological modern English interpretation. Ali Sulaimani, a brief introduction to Quranic exegesis. There are different types of. So these are the 6 phases in the Quranic exegesis production in English. When we come to the yawnes, what kind of yawnes? One is apologetic, that we mentioned earlier by the missionary types. Another is modern exegetical translations. And third one is traditionalist approach. And the fourth one is interfaith and dialogical interpretations. And the fifth one is academic and literary studies. So there are many limitations and pitfalls that I have to mention here. The fragmentations of lack of comprehensive mapping, that is, the power of the Arabic language could not be explicitly expressed through any other language. Such limitations are there. That's one of the pitfalls. And the ideological influence of the interpreters. That is one of another limitations of the English exegesis. And the blurring the translation and tafsir. We can't clearly articulate about it, whether it is a translation or a tafsir. Okay. And these are the limitations and what we can do as a, we are responsible to do dawah to a larger audience. As we know, English is the one of the most spoken language in the world. And also in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, it retrieves from the data it was trained. Which data we can give? These are the apologetical and traditionalist and revivalist tafsirs are available in English. AI read it and AI give the new generation the output that it generates from, retrieve from the data it has stored. So what is our purpose? We need a project, a detailed and comprehensive project to give what we have, the Sunni traditional way of thinking of tafsir, and training the AI models and the audience and giving a great project. May these events like GALA contribute to that as well. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.